Things. They're up 2-0 over Tricked, but Tricked and Sky Temple had a couple of moments where it's like, hey, they could have made a moment here to stop Fnatic.
Yep, and then they lost.
And then they lost.
No.
That's how it went down.
I will never forget this one NA tweet that we had at some point. I think it was before the mid-season brawl even, where someone just said, well, Fnatic always is really close with the opponent. It's a good back and forth, and then Quacknix makes the call to finally end the game and stop the shenanigans, and they win. And that's pretty much what we saw there once again. They might say that they are struggling a bit more in scrims right now, and I can definitely agree to that they're not as dominant, but they just seem to have this one thing that if it really matters, they show up in the team fight and they turn it around. And it just gets me a little bit mad when I see teams like Trick Esports, the Playing Ducks, and others against high-level opponents play an excellent style, but just lose because the opponent is simply on a different level. And then when they play another game against a weaker opponent, they just don't see the exact, they don't have the same level of performance. That's something that makes me personally quite sad, because when you see how TGG played against Dignitas, when you see how Playing Ducks played previous matches against Expert or someone, you see Trick playing against Fnatic, that's always like, oh my god, this is so good. And then they play against each other, and all of a sudden, it feels like they adjust to the level of their opponent a bit too much, and they don't have these glorious moments, which normally should lead them to a victory. Against Fnatic so far it wasn't enough, but I mean, maybe on the third map they can change that.
The strive to perfection is a bit difficult, but hey, they're doing it here. Let's go to game number 3 here. As the battleground is going to be chosen, it will be Tomb of the Spider Queen as a choice by Fnatic, as Trick Esports will elect to go ahead and move into first pick.
So they are going to try and snowball this, of course, once again, and this is again an interesting map, because what we usually see is a focus on trying to get interrupts against turn-in so that you can dominate the first two. Well, Fury is being played a lot more here. We see Chromie being played quite a bit. We have, of course, Poke on the side of Vala, heading more into a multi-shot build than an arrow build on the map, since you want to have more AoE damage. But since Fnatic has already showcased a bit of Tyrande, if they are trying to play an aggressive composition, they could throw her into the mix again and make her part of a 4-man rotation between two lanes in the early game.
You want Tyrande? Yeah, what you just said. I want Tyrande too. I'm just saying I agree with you. Give us Tyrande, Fnatic.
Okay, that worries me now. Am I becoming more like Snowflake pick, or are you all of a sudden becoming more hard meta?
More of like, hey, something is new. I kind of like it. You know, like when you try a new flavor of ice cream, but then you have it for 3 days in a row, and you're like, not so much on the ice cream. That's where I'm at right now. I'm on day 2.
Ice cream is an interesting topic. I don't know why people hate on vanilla that much.
Vanilla?
Yeah, people say it's boring. Generic. I don't get. Why is it generic? Vanilla is good.
I mean, I don't hate on it. I'm just saying, like, if I'm going to have ice cream, I might as well go to Carb City, you know what I'm saying? I want some gummy worms. I want some chocolate chip Oreos on top.
All right. Like, I have to put that in perspective for the Europeans out there. Americans don't have any taste in ice cream. Ice cream over here is really weird. It's not the same as back home. So when you hear an American talk about ice cream, don't assume it's what the Europeans understand under the term ice cream. It's very different.
All right, we'll have to try some German ice cream or
non-American
ice cream at some point.
German bakeries, I told you several times already.
One day we'll travel outside the world and try them out here. Now,
Tim, can we please focus on the game now, please?
You know what? Maybe we should. Lenara and Tassit are banned out. Greymane first picked.
Okay, Greymane first picked, and while we're kidding a little bit about Tyrande as well, she could actually be a good pick here, but I want to see that ETC first. Again, if you have ETC, the opportunities that you can create are pretty fantastic. And why we're coming back on Tyrande as well is because Tyrande excels when you have a follow-up stun. So with the tank meta shifting a little bit towards the heavy CC tanks, as for example ETC, you have easier follow-ups. When ETC was in his prime a year back, then we saw him oftentimes comboed off with either Tyrande for the second stun, Nikelthas for the stun follow-up, and these combos have been incredibly aggressive, so that is something that we could see here as well. And Tyrande offers a lot on this map if you play her correctly, because you can interrupt tribute channels, you can follow up for the stun and try and get an early lead through kills. With Fnatic now showcasing a little bit of an affinity for the hero, it might be an option for them to use that later on.
We'll see if that option does pop up for them. For now, they're going to go with the Vola and the Rhaegar. Got the wave clear if they need it. have both heroes that do that quite well if need be. On the other side, Trick Esports gonna have to find someone to set up their Grey main for those combos that can come out, that Curse Bullet into the engage. ETC is still up and available.
I think that Vala, the early Vala pick was definitely a result of the Lunara ban, just adjusting to that. I'm still surprised that we don't see an ETC picked a bit earlier for them. Of course, here on the map you don't have to go for stage dive, but the options that you have are still pretty strong. But I think that Fnatic especially has some other picks that they can opt for if ETC is taken away. Diablo is a very good point because he excels on the map with his Devil's Due, and you can just get region globes every time. Breeze has played the hero a lot here. But also Johanna. We have seen her more. You can go into an Eternal Retaliation build. If you have more than Rhaegar for heals, that allows you to do that, and that would even add more wave clear.
Uther grabbed here for now. Going to be able to mix in with that Grey main if need be. I'm wondering, are we going to see the Genji? Grey main and Genji together is decent, but they decided to move into their Gul'dan. So now they have their own wave clear, and this is something that we see from Crosby pretty often. Yeah,
Crosby with Gul'dan. I'm wondering if Trick is going to ban out Chromie now. Shrimpy has played a lot of Chromie. There's two heroes for Shrimpy that I'm currently thinking about. First of all, Chromie has been a hero that he played a lot and which excels on the map. But also Medivh is another thought here for them.
I think the Chromie makes sense with the Gul'dan being here. Easy target to hit, and then Uther he can stress out with the mana issues that he has. Wouldn't mind the ban unless they decide they want to move into another support and get a solo main tank warrior. Grey main can do fine in the solo lane if they need to, even if they were to grab maybe another support that can hold down there too. We'll see if they're going to go into that route, but a Chromie ban makes a lot of sense.
So let's see how what Fnatic is banning first of all. They are still looking at a front line for Trick that they haven't gotten yet, so it's all about the tanks right now. Which tank do you want for yourself and what do you ban out? Arthas, for example, could be the ban on their side. They know that Alex really loves to play it. On the map it fits, but they go into the Johanna ban instead. So limiting wave clear, making sure that Vala is not getting hit by those blinds. And I think they're probably also a little bit weary of running into that Blessed Shield again. As Trick, as expected, bans out Chromie.
There's that Chromie ban. So will Fnatic grab a double tank here? You think maybe ETC?
Yeah.
And can Wubby run a Nubrak?
I mean,
or Arthas, actually.
Nubarak, Arthas, ETC, all three of them. You could even go into their Haka, which they have shown quite a few times. I mean, at this point, I don't really think any of these heroes that we just mentioned would be a bad pick.
Forcing engages, they have already decent wave clear. I wouldn't mind the Arthas a little bit more because it would help out with the entire map theme.
Trick could also take Stitches, to be honest, with Uther as a follow-up stun and Gul'dan even for a Horrify, Grey main for a quick burst, Curse Bullet and then damage. I wouldn't mind Stitches on the side of Trick Esports. So basically all of the tanks that we're currently, or most of the tanks that we still have available here, would be good heroes for both of these teams, depending.
Well, Fnatic about to showcase what exactly they want to pick up here as the timer continues to count on down. Looking for engage and looking for some more wave clear. It's going to be the Stitches and the ETC instead.
I think Stitches is also them picking it away from Trick Esports. First of all, of course, Fnatic plays a lot of Stitches on the map.
Yeah.
But for the reasons that I just mentioned, Stitches would be great for Trick. And I think Fnatic identifies that too. And just says, hey, if they get a hook and a stun, a Horrify after that, Grey main damage already, that's basically a Stitches combo Trick is drafting here. He works for us too, so let's not why not pick him? Because if you look at what they're doing right now, you might think, okay, do they really have the normal follow-up? But you can also stun with ETC. You don't need that Uther there to simply get a stun or the Malfurion route. You can just simply hold ETC back a little bit, and then once Stitches gets the hook and you slide through and you have the same setup.
They are thinking about their warrior now, Trick Esport. They need engage. They need something that can force the situation, allow Gul'dan to poke from the side, and maybe help Malthael get the fight that he wants to pop out. I think I lean a little bit more towards that Diablo more and more the way I'm looking at it, especially with it being Rimmer. We'll see if that's what they're going to get.
I don't actually think there's going to be Diablo. I was thinking about a Nubarak, but I'm just not quite sure if they are really confident in a Nubarak as the main tank next to Malthael here. Diablo, they actually go for it. I'm interested to see how that's going to work out for them.
Well, we'll see here. Mouth, Diablo, not too shabby if they're able to get the fight they want, if they can play around the power slide. Diablo can get the engage, which can make it a little bit hard for Stitches to handle, but that Putrid Bio coming on line 10, it'll be hard for Trick to handle.
But you can definitely see with how long they waited on the Diablo pick that was not really what they wanted.
Yeah.
They definitely would have loved to play Stitches here, and when that was taken away and ETC also claimed by Fnatic, they had to make a decision. Okay, we didn't get our priority pick. what do we deviate into? Do we pick Diablo? Do we go for a new Burak? What do we feel more confident here? They decide with Diablo, but that already shows that Fnatic has pretty much identified what Trick wanted to do and has taken one of the pillars of that draft away from them.
Final pickup here for Fnatic. Looking for a Schwimpy hero. What does Schwimpy want to play here? I mean, we already asked for it at the very start. We asked for the Falstad. Totally. Don't check the VODs.
Yeah, completely.
I actually was not expecting the Falstad.
Falstad Vala.
Yeah, so that means Quack and Falstad should be on Vala?
Oh, you can bet both.
That's true.
Like you can switch it around. I think it comes down to how. Normally, I think it's more so Quacknix that plays Falstad, so probably it's going to be him. But I'm interested in the build because against Diablo, you can make good arguments for. This map is actually interesting since you can make a really strong argument for Seasoned Marksman and Giant Killer. But if you already run Vala, you can also simply say, hey, let's go for a Mage Stat build, have a little bit more wave clear on the hand, and have a burst damage after a hook. But probably I would say Seasoned Marksman gives you quite a lot of stacks. And the more pressure you put on Diablo, the better, because with the hero pool that he has, once that Falstad hits 13, and if you have good Seasoned Marksman stacks, you can really bully the hell out of him.
Yeah, I think a majority of the reason why the Falstad's picked up is they just want to find some way to get rid of that Tormented Souls if it does come their way. The Gorge was an option. I was thinking about that for a little bit. Once the Tormented Souls pops out, you pop in the Gorge, but they want to have that Falstad here for the Mighty Gust at moment comes out, because that's been happening a lot with Malthael. You stop Tormented Souls, and it feels like he's a hero that kind of just sits around and doesn't really get the engages that he wants.
Yeah, Tormented Souls is such a huge cooldown as well, so you really need to play around it. One of the reasons why I would love some teams to run a little bit more last rites in certain comps. Not saying that it necessarily fits here, but overall, it's Trick's last chance. They have to make something happen now.
Let's do it here. Can Trick Esports get the victory against Fnatic, or will Fnatic come in with another 3-0 this season? It's time to find out. Tomb of Spider Queen.
Game number 3, it could be the last map as we see Trick starting with Gnapper on Uther, Ramaballer on Diablo. We see Crosby on the Mage. He's gonna rock Gul'dan once again with Alex, Death Incarnated. Plays Malthael and 3 for 3. Macke on Greymane.
On the right side, in the red, it will be Fnatic. Breeze playing ETC, Wubby on Stitches, Quacknix playing the Falstad, Schwimpy will be on Vala, and Smexy on the Rhaegar. It's all about control here, and gosh, I love that level 1 here, already picked up by Diablo, the Devils do.
Yeah, I mean, it's the standard talent for the hero, but the value that you get on this map, you're absolutely right. It's crazy strong.
You feel unbeatable when you're running that talent. You really do. You touch a region globe and you're like, let's go, world. Come on, 5v1. Drop the combo in.
Scumbag Quacknix flies in only to just dance in front of the opponent. No other reason. He has no Gathering Storm. There's no value he gets out of it. He's just flying in because he can. And he's just like,
what was that again? Sorry, I missed that part.
Polly wants a cookie.
Fnatic versus Trick. Already opening up here. Now let's see how the laning is going to pop out. We've been seeing a lot of double supports in our compositions that try to set up that bottom lane very well, but both of our teams here have elected to only run with one support. So that means we should have traditional laning, but it's not happening like that here. Already, Gul'dan's in the bottom. They turn around for a stun. They find a Wubby. Wubby's low. Will he be able to get out? He is trying. Smexy gave him a heal, but here comes Macke. Macke, you missed the auto attack. No! I can't believe he missed that.
I can't believe he was alive.
That's crazy, dog. Oh, man. Chop Judo here. Esports take my energy. Gotta agree with you. But right now, Wubby's taking energy as he gets away from the fight.
Yeah, that was really a fun moment for them. Again, one of the reasons why ETC is also so strong, I'm coming back to it because we now have Falstad and Vala in here. And oftentimes when we've seen Vala in the past, it's really all about the double support since you're trying to keep her safe. This is where Breeze comes in. Watch, if you're a tank player, watch throughout the game how Breeze is using his skills, and you will find that he actually does not spam out his abilities, even in team fights. So oftentimes he's holding something back. Either it's going to be the power slide because he waits for that moment where they can stack stuns, or it's going to be his face melt because he wants to create space. So he's going to play this really safe and trying to zone and create space for Falstad and for Vala. So whenever someone jumps in, he has an opportunity to slide through and simply push them away to keep the carry safe. And this is extremely important because in this game, if we are hitting level 13 on even talents for the two teams and we have Giant Killer taken after Seasoned Marksman, you will see how auto attacks from Quacknix are absolutely going to chunk down Diablo. And as he's the main and solo tank on the side of Trick Esports, that's going to become a a big problem, even with Devil's Due. So this is going to be one of those moments when Trick has to try and put some extra pressure onto Quacknix on Falstead, since they just simply can't allow him to get these shots in against Diablo over and over again. And that's where Breeze comes into play, because he's going to be the one really protecting and zoning for Vala and, of course, also for Falstead.
Wobby may have gotten cut out here on the bottom lane as we have Rimmer come in, get the engage, tanks the entire fort just to make sure that he's able to get the kills there, the turret, sorry, and is able to get a kill with that 4-on-1. But Fnatic does answer back by pushing in the top side, working on grabbing the turrets for their own experience here, and they want to try and mitigate that.
Yeah, there might be a bit of a problem on Fnatic's side. I rarely actually see them pause the game. But
yeah,
as we've been talking a bit about Falstead and Vala, because you usually don't see them as a combo. Like traditionally, if you have two range damage dealers, then you will see that one of them is normally a mage and the second one is an auto attacker. And what we have now is that Fnatic actually decided to go into an arrow build on this map. Typically, you see arrow builds on most other maps, but not so much on Infernal Shrines, and normally Tomb of the Spider Queen is another map when multi-shot focus is higher. But with them having an auto-attacker in the form of Falstead, they now shifted over and still take auto-attacks for team fight value, since they don't need the added wave clear.
So we'll keep an eye on that Hungering Arrow and see how it gets stacked up. Currently right now it only has one stack, but should be able to continue to improve that with the ETCs coming in.
And since we highlighted it in previous games, I want to point it out now. As we said, Monster Hunter is fantastic on Cursed Hollow if you're trying to put pressure on mercenary camps and bosses, or if you are playing on Battlefield of Eternity, you want to take the Immortal down. But on this map, there's only a few camps, and you're not really going to focus as much on camps as you do on other maps. So Shrimpy, in this case, going for Hot Pursuit as level 1, which gives him mana sustain on the lane, and also, of course, the movement speed for positioning purposes. So this is exactly the hybrid build with arrows that we've been talking from the start.
There it is already, 2 stacks starting up here. Keeping an eye on the Rhaegar moving into the healing tunnel at 4, seeing that a little bit more often as of late. Just nice little anchor to throw down for your teammates to back up into. Great also when you're running double tank, because it is percentage healing that you get, so it will be helpful for that Stitches and the ETC. For the most part, our teams are actually very even at the moment. 26 turn-ins to 19, only 1 kill in the game, and experience slightly in the head for Trick Esport. A hook does come out, it will hit Rimmer, so Smexy goes in, and they're trying to burn him down. Will they get it? They do.
Yeah, that was the power slide follow-up. Breeze was a bit late since he was not right next to Stitches when it happened, but he still was able to get the slide in, and that was, of course, the kill that they were hoping to get here. So the combo is working out for them. But Tricked overall has already gotten their own kill. They're trying to go for interrupts here, and they're actually doing a very good job this early in the game. Alex is taking a lot of damage down here to the top, though, so that's a bit of an issue. But they still hit the level 7 faster than their opponent.
Stun does come out. Nape hitting it here on Schwimpy, was able to turn around. 6 gems being dropped off by Smexy on the top side. Looks like he finally will get them dropped off, but with Rimmer coming back, Fnatic will have to head back in the lane to start clearing them out. They do find an Alex Prodigy and get some damage on him, but man, both teams are just itching for a fight. Here we are, dancing in the top.
Yeah, Breeze already sliding out. Nice, pushing everybody back before that, creating some space. Also highlighting that we have 15 season marksman stacks already for Falstead. Only 5 minutes into the game. This is definitely just attributed to the map. It's fantastic when you can make these rotations happen and get all those minions, especially now that Boomerang on level 7 comes in for Falstead. He has that super fast wave clear available to him.
I'm just keeping an eye on Fnatic. They keep putting 4 in the top here, but Rimmer's doing a really good job of harassing him to the side with Nape bringing in the heals to not allow them to turn in. The idea is they're trying to force Malthael to come up to the top and maybe force a team fight, which would allow Wubby to drop off his gems, but Trick is just handling this so well at the moment. Keeping up with the movement, putting enough of a deterrent on their opponents to make sure they don't drop the turn in, and they're just slowly increasing the experience lead. It's only a little bit by now, but they get the top pushing in, and Fnatic, while floating around, has yet had the chance to get the turn in.
Yeah, at this point, we have also a quick interrupt against Alex, but it's actually pretty cool to see how those two teams are just playing on eye level this early on. The level 10s are going to be starting to change a lot, especially, of course, Crosby's Horrify is going to become a massive tool for Trick Esports to try and get their kills there, and that's what I'm personally looking forward to the most. So teamfight coordination after level 10 is going to be a blast.
Yep, they're only a level away from that Horrify from coming online. Crosby keeping up with the poke on the top side that 9 does connect, and I'm watching this bottom side because Wubby and Quack are trying to get Malthael in a position where he's out and gets picked off, but Alex is doing a great job of backing up, but the Gul'dan in the top, he gets caught.
Yeah, Gul'dan at top lane has been eliminated, and so in the meantime we have now a 5 versus 4, and Shrimpy tries to turn in, Yeah, there's space created by Breeze with a quick face melt, and the red web weavers will descend first. This is a very, very late first turn, and by the way, we are already at level 9.5. Usually that happens around the second turn.
So this means Fnatic will be able to get the waves pushing and get that 10, but Trick Esport is actually in a good spot. They delayed long enough to where when they clear out the waves here with their Golden that should be coming in, they'll get 10 themselves, which should stop that second turn in you were just alluding to. Let's see how they handle the pressure coming their way, because they'll be able to go for a straight turn in 2 if they get a fight after their wave clear.
Yeah, and now the 10s are, of course, going to be important for both of them. Fnatic hits it slightly faster than their opponent. Gust already picked here and the Ancestral Healing, but any second now Trick is going to get enough experience to claim their own heroic abilities. But the push is strong, for sure. In the mid lane, as already the towers are falling. In the bottom lane, the same thing is happening here. Mosh Pit on the side of ETC. Horrify. As we see a massive push through the bot lane, eliminating the first port of the game.
But Trick is ready to flank. They want to fight here. Make's on his way. Alex finds Wobby on the side, and here comes Rimmer. He's going to look for Bala. He goes for the APOC combo. He actually lands it on the Rhaegar here. The Horrify being utilized too. And Smexy may be the only one here. He's actually able to get out while Fnatic turns around and kills Malfield.
Gorge and Gust being used, and there was a lot of gems that they just lost. Smexy is going to fall, or he should.
No
he
way.
might actually survive here.
He does. Rimmer's trying to get the vision so he can go over. He does go over and he finds a Breeze, but he doesn't get the dog. That's what he wanted.
Yeah, and the thing is, even if he dies, it's still a worthy trade, because yes, you trade 1 for 1, but you trade 9 gems against 26. So that's the biggest part of it. Smexy surviving, of course, is just the icing on the cake here, but still, that was fantastic. Fnatic with great play, and again, this Gorge and Gust combo coming into play. It's an old shoot and try. You get a Gorge, falls dead, waits for the opponent to try and move in, hits the Gust, you isolate the target, and then it's like an instant kill here. Especially, of course, with Shrimpy being able to drop a double arrow onto the target.
I'm just still in shock. Smexy lived through that. That was a Horrify used on him.
Seems to be the story of the game, right? And that's not only the dog that survived, but also Whoopi earlier when he was able to move out with just 1 auto attack away from death. That was pretty cool too.
Well, Fnatic has gone in for another turn-in. This one is usually when things start to spin out of control for teams. Another hook into a Gorge. Smexy will drop down the totem, and it's Make who will be the target this time. And he has 28 gems that are now sitting on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, welcome to the process. We're going to see that a lot more often. If you get a hook like this in the Gorge, then all that Quacknix has to do is drop the Gust. He does it immediately. And it's not only about Falstad and his damage, it's really that double arrow that Vala can hit on a single target that is chunking her down so fast. Keep, of course, in mind that ETC always has the option of stunning the target even further with a quick power slide. But this is just such a strong comp on a map where you can land your comps.
And they are going to get a 4 on the top here. They push in the middle a little bit here, but Trick Esports is able to defend, but still, Fnatic starting to take a pretty massive lead. They're about to hit level 13. That Web Weaver's already putting damage onto a keep wall on the bottom side. Trick will be looking for a team fight soon. That's their one way here to make sure the Stitches hook combo does not come off. They force the engage, get Stitches or someone to be in a weird spot. The problem is Fnatic has a mosh pit to make sure to disrupt that if that ever does pop out, so they have to play around it.
Yeah, and Fnatic now also has level 13, which means that we are looking at Giant Killer for Falstad. And Falstad by now is on 29 stacks. We're 10 minutes in, he has 29 stacks. His damage output against Diablo is going to become ridiculous at this point.
A flank comes in, they're going to use Apocalypse and Tormented Souls. Fnatic says hello, drops on the Mighty Gust. Breeze wants to dance for some reason, missing out on the Mosh Pit. Divine Shield will be utilized as well, but Breeze going in with the Power Slide.
Yeah, here comes a good cleanse for Emma, so that was definitely worth it. But keep definitely Falstad in mind now when it comes to Rema bot. As long as he puts pressure onto Diablo, Diablo is going to have a rough time here. That damage output on Falstad is just increasing. He's at 30 stacks. He has now Giant Killer, and he is going to chunk away at Diablo like there's no tomorrow.
That he will. For now, Fnatic takes a small moment to go ahead and head back home and heal on up while Falstad works on the Giants on the bottom side. But you can see Trick how hesitant they are right now to force any fights or go in for any engages. First off, they have enough gems for a turn-in, but they have to play around the Stitches that has been hitting hooks and getting them killed off. With Gorge coming up in 10 seconds, that is always something you have to worry about, but they have to find a way to get a turn-in.
And also, keep in mind how many gems they lost. They lost more than
Over
50 gems,
yeah.
Exactly. So that's a big problem for them. And they're getting pushed farther and farther behind. And it also comes back, like one of the reasons why Fnatic is so dominant in the middle of the map is that they still hold on to all of their forts and to the wells too. Once again, Gorge, guess what? It's a Gust, and now we have a potential isolation kill. Against Diablo, by the way.
They turn around, Rain of Vengeance, there it is. Rimmer's dead, and that's going to be the Souls reset.
all of this is, of course, a lot of this is possible because Fnatic already has a dominant position here. So they are the ones that are always able to move back towards a fort, towards towers, and they are posturing in the middle of the map. It's much harder to execute this if you're behind, but even if you're behind, you still have the option of isolation kills and coming back into the game. So again, Gorge and Gust, it's an easy composition to use once you hit your hooks, and as long as you have enough damage.
Trick is going to make a play here. They're moving in, wanting to force it. They are on even talents. This might be the moment. Alex Aproji dodging on the hook by standing still and being barely out of range.
Another 10 seconds, and Gorge Gust is going to be ready again.
ETC finds a Diablo, does power slide him. Maki goes to the turn-in, and the blue Well Weavers will be coming out for Trick Esports. So Fnatic, not having the combo available, is not going to force anything
Hook,
too heavily. Hang on, though. Hook goes out. It's going to be Rimmer. There's a Gorge. There's the Gust. Malfio's on his way here to force a fight, but again, same story. Rinse and repeat.
Yeah, that's all that you have to do at this point. And this is, I mean, why change it? It's not broken. Just go in, and the cooldowns also line up perfectly, so it's absolutely ideal. And once more, double arrow afterwards, massive damage output from False at this point. He's, by the way, at 37 stacks, so he's 3 away from completing the quest talent. Keep in mind, it stacks even after that. He's on 38 right now, and his auto attack damage against Diablo is absolutely ridiculous with Giant Killer.
Now, it's unfortunate that they lost a Diablo there, because they got the turn-in, and they were looking to go ahead and push this, but I don't know if they'll even get a 4 here if Fnatic wants to defend it on the bottom side.
Yeah, also Fnatic could just like move behind them.
That's true.
Keep in mind, we are talking a lot about Gorge Gust. There's a mosh pit around too.
It's still floating around. Okay, ETC's in a spot here. All 4 members from Trick Esports on the side, they're looking for the Diablo. They wanted to catch him on the rotation, but Rimmer gets a nice pathway here to be able to psych up with his team. Falsehead will be noticed, and Alex Proji coming in for a fight. 16 is right around the corner, so Fnatic will pull away as they did get the catch.
Yeah, here comes Priest though, and gets saved by Whoopi. A good move here. So Fnatic was trying to set a flank up against Trick. That didn't really work out since Diablo spotted it, but then they were able to move away without losing anyone. And now they have level 16 talents, which of course, guess what? Makes things not a lot better for Trick Esports.
Has Whoopi ever had a bad game?
In his life?
In his life. I'm not even kidding. I must have missed that. That guy,
I mean,
he was a hero.
He had a couple of games in part 1 of Phase 2 when they played. I don't remember who they played against, but I remember they played with Tyrael on Sky Temple, and yeah, Whoopi had an interesting day. Like,
all right.
He was apparently trying to run a record of how often he could get trade value on Tyrael. And he got a lot of trade value at that game.
He did. I mean, that's a good game in my eyes.
But overall, I mean, your point being that he's an exceptional player, and I'm not disputing that at all. He had a few bad games, but he's a fantastic player. And I don't know, it always feels like no matter what you put him on, that he excels at it.
Yeah, and he always finds that moment to make the important play, the one that is needed for the team to win the team fight. I remember that Rhaegar cleanse the other day.
It's also interesting because he says that, especially when it comes to practice, scrims are the most important practice for him. He says that Hero League, for example, doesn't really give him anything, since his role that he plays in team games doesn't exist in Hero League, because Hero League games are so uncoordinated compared to an HGC game, that he says, what I play for Fnatic doesn't exist in a normal match that you play in solo queue. So his practice is very much focused very highly on the scrims that he has with Fnatic as a team, and that makes it even more impressive in my opinion.
I describe him as a professional sponge. And that guy knows how to take the utmost experience in every single game. 17-15 right now. Trick Esports is rather around the corner here from 16, while 3 Web Weavers are on their way pushing in, and a boss for Fnatic. They're setting up for a big lethal play. If they can find a hook here into another Gorge combo, they can start to move towards the court. Yeah,
and that hook is going to come up pretty soon. There's still a few minions in the way, but he even went, he could have gone into Fishing Hook. He went into Pulverize instead, but I could have just seen them just going completely in on it and playing around it. But that's this. He just walked. Why hook them if you could just walk up to them?
Malfio goes in. It feels like this is a bit of a bait here from Trick Esports, but it seems like it may have got them in trouble. Divine Shield comes out. There goes the Horrify. The Ancestor Healing does miss. Breeze finds a mosh pit on the backside, though. Wubby going out with the hook, but Fnatic is being ran over by Trick Esports.
That was great play by Trick. We have to talk about this. If we can get a repeat of that, it would be fantastic. Because what we saw is Trick was just simply saying, we had this so many times, we are going to jump the Gust right now. 4 members dead because look how they dodge. Slow that down for a sec. It's already a bit too late. But we had Alex going with his 13 into Unstoppable, and they all played around this Gust, and that was fantastic. So especially with the inevitable end that we had, there was an Unstoppable on Malthael, then someone comes in from the side. Everything that mattered here was get past the Gust, and that's exactly what happened. Quagnix, you can argue, used it maybe a second too early, but Alex reacted perfectly. He jumped it, had his inevitable end being used, and that's the one moment where Fnatic all of a sudden loses 4 heroes. It was extremely well played by Trick. They still lost 20% on their quota.
Yeah, they sure did. Lost in the keep there, took some damage in the middle keep too. But I really wonder, I want to be in the comms there. Was that a moment they were like, all right, Crosby, just get gorged. We're going to try and make this fight happen right here, right now.
No, it's not that they are saying like, okay, get gorged, but they definitely said when it happens again, make sure that you're active. Be prepared for it. Wait for the Gust. It's coming. They're going to get a gorge eventually. So once it happens, make sure that we are not set up in the straight path so that he can't Gust all of us. And the guys who have the option to move past it, maybe a cleanse from Gnappa, for example, to cleanse the Gust. Inevitable end on the side of Alex. Make sure that whatever target they get, he's not going to be alone. There needs to be someone else who helps him out to survive just long enough so we can force a team fight.
Regardless, they get it done here, and now they get a turn in. They're looking for some experience. They want to break down some infrastructure, start moving in, maybe get a keep wall here. Fnatic on their side just want to defend as easily as possible and get towards level 20, as they still are in the lead despite that amazing team fight from Trick Esports.
Yeah, it was a great team fight for Trick, but it also is a bit of a wake-up call for Fnatic, because let's just face it, at that point they were just cruising along.
Yeah.
So they found themselves in such a dominant spot that I don't think they even thought that that could happen, but it definitely did, and Trick is now starting to claw them way back into it. But still, we have another hook opportunity. Both of the talents are ready. Slow, but no hook being used afterwards. So already Trick was immediately spacing out a little bit, making sure that the Gust could not hit all of them. But Fnatic is playing for 20 now, of course. You can literally see how Quagnix said, okay guys, just don't force it. Yes, we might get the hook, but let's just enforce it, play it safe. We have all our keeps up at this point. We will hit the 20, and then we can still make our plays.
20 right around the corner here. Need a few more minions of experience, and that will hit. Falset soaking in the middle lane, and Fnatic is starting to posture forward.
Big part, by the way, of why Trick is closing this gap in experience so fast, just to highlight that, is they didn't take down a single fort up to that point. So there was a lot of experience in structures. And once they won a team fight and had momentum, they could take the towers and forts down, and that gave them a lot of EXP. This is why they closed this gap so quickly, and now nearly on 20 to 20. So that's one of the problems if you lose a team fight in the late game and you've been dominating the entire match.
Hang on, Wobby might be in trouble. There goes the Gorge. It's going to be after the mighty Gust. Can they get enough space here to turn around and kill Nape?
Oh,
Nape here with a divine shield, but the Mamad!
Baby, it's a holy cow. He goes in and takes them down, but the counter kill against Stitches. Rhaegar has fallen. There goes Malthael, but we have 2 kills on both sides. Gul'dan is also dead, and this is a 3-4-3. Breeze with a mosh pit, but this time the damage wasn't there. Cow moving out. Malthael bought himself back, but oh boy, that was an interesting one.
Despite the 4-man mosh pit there, Trick Esports able to win on the team fight. A 1-for-2 trade, only Gul'dan falling.
2-for-2 trade.
You're right,
yeah.
Malthael comes back there. So it was a 2-for-2 trade overall. What will Trick Esports do now here with them having 4 people on the field thanks to the buyback? They move in towards the boss.
Yeah, let's look at this again. So Whoopi is in trouble. He gets stunned into the corner. Here comes the Gust. Breeze even buying some space, but it's Uther, so he just has to drop the Divine Shield, and there's just not enough damage. They're too far away at this point. That was their biggest problem. They get the kill against Gul'dan, but then it's just like the Malthael show for this point. He's falling in the end, but he's already doing so much work here and so much damage. So, yeah, pretty impressive fight. And now it's Trick Esports running away with the boss.
That they are. Luckily for Fnatic, the early game was strong enough to where they have a fort and a keep in the way, so they should be able to defend this boss. But Trick Esports has bought a lot of time here now. Can start to go ahead and keep working on gems and look for maybe a team fight. Alex and Progi on that front side already harassing Breeze. Put a hook over the wall.
Yeah, trying to get him here, but not just yet. We have Rema in a little bit of trouble. Alex is in more so. Malthael is down. That's the kill they needed. The Divine Shield hitting Rema Baller instead of Malthael. And that means this boss is not going to be of any consequence to Fnatic. But it's still such an interesting game now. A dominant performance from Fnatic early and mid-game. And then one team fight after Fnatic dominated everything. one team fight, turns the game upside down. All of a sudden, Trick Esports closes the gap in experience and really makes Fnatic work for it.
Malthea will not be up for another 50 seconds due to his buyback earlier here, so Fnatic will take the opportunity to try and get 20 more gems so they can go for a turn-in. Trick Esports doing everything they can here to make sure they slow that down, grabbing Giants on the bottom side, setting up in the middle lane to make sure it's not pushing in, while Fnatic can look for another hook. They still have 35 more seconds here before a full 5v5 is available for Trick.
They should get it to keep right now.
Yeah,
that's going to be the important one. And yeah, I'm currently actually... Unfortunately, we can't double-check how many stacks Quacknix has at this point. That would be pretty interesting because his damage output is just increasing even more. I mean, it's single-target damage more so. It's really about... Oh, sorry, it's... no, it's actually Quacknix on the hero. It's more so about him getting the wave clear in. Like, he's currently looking at 200,000 siege damage. False, that is. His hero damage is at 29k, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if you consider that it's mostly single target damage against one person, namely the frontliner, it's actually pretty significant how fast he puts him in trouble. Shrimpy overall is at 42,000, but the top damage in the game right now is Greymane. Marker with 51k and 170,000 siege damage.
That poke and that go for the throat really paying off here for him. 51 gems out of 65 turned in for Fnatic. They're looking for a few more, but Trick Esports has all 5 members spawned up, and they are floating around the middle. They know at this point that it's going to come down to a team fight for them. If they can win it against Fnatic, they can try to open up the battleground, go for a keep, and go for a boss. But sitting back at home won't do much for them. Yeah,
the big problem is the 2 keeps that they lost, and that we're now 23 minutes into the game. They have already lost 20% on the core, which means that if catapults get close to the core on any of these open lanes, Trick is going to lose it very quickly. Those catapults hurt at this point. A nice wraparound attempt here, but Fnatic is already playing it safe since they are saying, boys, we don't really see anyone on the map. They must be setting up something here. And a lone Malthael where everybody else is missing on the minimap is a pretty good indicator that there's a trap set for you.
That there is, and they come around from the right side looking for that trap, getting a better concave, even looking for a hook, but miss out. This is actually a very intense moment for both of our teams.
But I just love how Alex is here, like in the middle. Nobody else is showing himself, and he's like, kill me, I'm alone. And everyone's just like, nope.
Nope.
He also has, of course, on level 13, the one reason why he's the bait is because he has inevitable end. So even if a hook is coming towards him, he can simply use that to dodge the hook and then move out. But I mean, obvious trap is obvious, but it was still pretty awesome.
I do like what Fnatic is doing here, though. With 3 catapults in the top lane starting to push in, there's gets to a point where Trick will have to move in and defend those catapults, which allows for Fnatic to try and turn off the gems they have collected and even look for a hook.
I mean, let's also talk about the elephant in the room. Boss is another big option here later on, or could be. So once he's back on the map, that's going to be something. That's a minute, by the way. That's going to be something that both of the teams have to highly consider here. And another thing that Trick has to consider is that big wave that is pushing towards their core at the top lane. They need to react to that.
Yeah, catapult's already there. We had Malthael clear the catapult on the top side, so he's trying to slow that down.
They can't ignore this. That's 3 catapults. Yeah. They're going to wreck this core within seconds.
Especially here in 24 minutes.
Yeah.
Rimmer goes in for the engage. They're looking for a fight. Trick Esports has decided that fighting is now their option. They move in. Breeze will be on the right side.
They're losing their core. Look at this. The shields are just rushing down. The 3 catapults are hurting a lot, and the 4th is joining up as the rest of the... This is game.
Yep.
Quacknix just flew in.
He's going in here for the 3-0. Can they get the full victory? It's looking like it as every single auto attack continues on the core. Trick Esports hoping to fight for their life, but a mosh pit holds them in place, and Fnatic will get the 3-0 over Trick Esports.
That was anticlimactic.
Sometimes it's all you need to get a victory. It's not about fireworks.
Yeah, but why? They forced the fight. And don't get me wrong, I agree, force the fight.
Sure.
If you are 2 keeps down, at some point you say, hey, we have to flip the switch here. And I think they were probably afraid of a turn being completed. But if you have 3 catapults pushing towards your core, 25 minutes in, you can't ignore that.
Yeah.
Even without Quacknix being there, that would have been over. The only thing they have to do is make sure they don't immediately portal back. But 25 minutes in, these guys are hitting incredibly hard. They're hitting harder than the Rock. So you are going to lose that core within 10 seconds.
Yeah, you either force that fight 20 seconds earlier and then go back and defend the catapults, or you defend the catapults and come in for a fight.
Exactly.
The timing was just a bit off there, and we saw Trick Esports just easily fall victim to Fnatic because of that late call.
I mean, it's a 3-0 for Fnatic in the end, but we have to highlight that I feel the result doesn't quite show
overall.
how, like the games overall I think were a lot closer, and Trick showed really good really good play, if they can just translate that into the same level of play in other games, they are having really good shots at taking out direct opponents in the standings. But Fnatic just a little bit too crisp in these final decisions when it really matters.
Fnatic, man, just coming in here and killing it, getting another 3-0. And again, you mentioned it earlier, but they mentioned Scrim's a bit harder for them. But for some reason, that it factor, every time you come to a tournament, Fnatic just has it. If they can continue to hold that, BlizzCon better beware.
But that's the thing. Scrims are where you want to experiment.